Y'all, welcome back to Kentucky Fried Wargaming, where two guys who aren't qualified to talk about anything decide to talk about a game with hard math and chance. I'm Joe.
And I'm John.
And on this episode, we're coming to you sort of a twofold topic. First, John and some of the other local players went to a tournament, the Northern Indiana GT, a two-dayer, and just sort of want to circle back and talk about how that was for them and what that was like. And also use that as a way to get an early reading of some of the changes that Bellum have been rolling out into Conquest, and check in on how we think that is going, either good or bad or neither. Because it's a good way to get a ton of people in one room to test the new rules rollouts.
Yep. And we're not just going to talk about like what necessarily those people talked about, but also what our like local group has been talking about a lot with the Conquest stuff, and sort of contextualizing it from like different places. So like I met with some of the vanguards from like Indianapolis, hung out with a bunch of people from Michigan. Like there was a bunch of like all over the place talking about a whole lot of different stuff. So there's a whole lot of information in this, just kind of about vibes, and also I want to talk about the cool time I had.
Okay, go. I wasn't there. I got nothing to give you.
Boom! All right, we're just going right into it. All right, so first off, what is this GT? And let me set the scene for you. All right, we went to the Indiana GT at Slice and Dice Game Cafe in South Bend, Indiana, which is basically Michigan. Like it's almost directly next to Michigan. This is the first time they've had this. It's the first annual. They plan on doing this every year. And it was a 2-day event, which is pretty rare for Conquest. They're starting to become more common, but they're generally just not very popular. Normally it's just like a 1-day event with 3 to 4 rounds, and that's it. Outside of like Adepticon and LVO and Nova and those other things. So this is sort of a big deal for this region. So it's pretty cool. Surprisingly, we had 31 players come out. And, even more surprisingly, no one dropped the whole time. Everyone was just in it the whole time. That was great. And it was over 5 days, and it was not over 5 days, it was over 2 days. It was 5 rounds.
I was going to say over 5 days. Jesus Christ, you have to camp out?
It kind of felt like 5 days to some degree.
Went to hike the Appalachian Trail while playing Wadroon? Like, what?
Yeah, and like I ran the gamut in my games, right? Like my first game was against an incredibly good Dweghom player, and I got wrecked. And then I had games against City States, games against New Uroni, games against New Sorcerer Kings. I will say the biggest thing for me across all of it was none of my games felt over before round 7.
I will say, just from my experience, having played a whole lot of Conquest, that has not been the experience pre-update.
Right. Like, that was quite good. And I will say, I've played a lot of Conquest, and I won't say the terrain is what caused it, because the terrain was a little less than I'm even used to playing on. I'm used to playing on more terrain, so it definitely wasn't getting slowed down because of terrain. It was getting slowed down because the game got slower. So,
I personally think it's a good thing. I'm for that. I dislike the game ending at turn 3.
I'm also here for it. I think it was great. I think there was a lot more build diversity. Like, there was just a lot more list diversity across everyone. There was very few lists that were almost identical. The exception was Nords, but I don't think that's because Nords are necessarily a one-build army. I think it's the 3 people that were playing Nords all like kind of brought the same thing, because they all kind of...
Everybody loves werewolves. I don't know what you want. Like, look, everyone else has watched the movie Dog Soldiers and adores it as much as I do. Okay? We're men of culture, John.
Also, culture. That list is just kind of cool. Like, I will not lie. It's kind of sick. Like, there's some slight changes between the 3 lists, but, like, they all do kind of center on, like, the same idea, which is just, like, WWE, but in Conquest, and it's kind of dope. I'm not gonna lie.
Someone play the Undertaker's music, get on a motorcycle, ride it to the table like that. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, and
Oh, you're
overall,
reading. I can see you trying to read the notes. I know. You're trying to be accurate. God help us.
I'm not even gonna try to be accurate. I'm throwing the notes out the door. I'm just gonna talk straight from the heart.
I will say, I was reading this pre-show going, wow, that's a lot of notes for John. That's a toughie to read live.
I could break down every single one of these games and I'll tell you about all the intricacies of how it went. But really, I'm just gonna tell you what I took. Right? I took Padroon and I took a list I called Meat Mountain, in which I took the Scion of War with Chosen of War,
Hey-o.
3 units of War Bread, and just a bunch of other stuff. And it was just throwing dudes up the table and then creating avenues to throw missiles at people. The list did kind of what I expected it to. I probably could have made it a little bit better, and I definitely made a bunch of piloting errors. But none of that mattered at the end of the time. What mattered was that in every one of my games, we found things to laugh at and things to have a great time about. And I didn't have a single bad opponent. Every single person I played was a great time. And that wasn't just my games. Like, the vast majority of the games around me that I got to hear and see and kind of like talk with everyone in between rounds about was the same. Everyone was having a great time. There wasn't like this air of like super competitive edge to it. It was just, oh shit, we're having a great time. Like we're all playing some cool games and like some fun takeaways, just like people like, oh, well, what round your game end at? Oh, I got to round 9. No shit. Oh, hell yeah. And just having a great time. Everyone that I talked to seemed to be pretty excited that the game wasn't just breakneck speed, runs 3 or 4. And there's definitely some like critiques of some of the changes, right? But overall, I think people were pretty happy with where things were at, right? Mm-hmm. Good time. Also, Euroni, you're sick, and shout out to our buddy Chris, who won Best Painted Euroni.
Woo! Well earned Best Painted Euroni.
That was pretty good. Also, shout out to our wonderful friend and painter, Dylan, who I got so many compliments on the models I borrowed from him that he painted.
That's because he is a far, far superior painter.
He is a much better painter than I am. But I will say, like, amidst all of these positives, right? All of these positive things at this event, that was absolutely wonderful. And you should go to one of these events if you want to. There were some negatives, not about the event, but just sort of around the game, right? Mm-hmm. And I think there's really sort of 3 we're going to talk about. One, first negative. Supremacy.
Oh, I'm glad it's not just me. I've been trying to be cool about it because I didn't know if other people also found the new changes weird.
It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense in its current iteration. I mean, just like it feels disjointed from the rest of the game. There's a whole bunch of things you can say about what it does to people wanting to take more activations now. But really, the thing that kind of like cemented for me why some people just really don't like it was that like I watched a game next to me where they rolled for the same round like 6 times back to back, and they were actually having to like figure out who was going to get it so that who would have the token for the next round. Like they're having to play this weird mini game on an inconsequential turn, kind of like don't get me wrong, turn 2 isn't necessarily nothing. But you're mostly just kind of stalling out to see where people are deploying stuff. So you don't really need to win that one. Like...
Yes.
So instead you're trying to play for the turn 3 or like the turn 4 to get the supremacy there. And it's weird that that's a minigame. And I think a lot of people felt that it was weird that that was a minigame. And it just doesn't feel as tight and cohesive as the rest of Conquest. Like it feels off.
Yeah, I liked the way it was before. If you have less cards than your opponent, you get a little benefit. Mm-hmm. And it also acts, in that case, 1, as being way simpler, but 2, it acts as like a really, really, really light touch catch-up mechanic for, if you and your opponent come in with like roughly equal army sizes, and then you start getting your booty kicked, and you start losing a lot of units, and you go down on cards, because you're getting your butt kicked. Cool, you get just like a little chance at a benefit. I thought that was a nice little elegant piece of design before. So I hope we go back to something like it.
Yeah.
Because even locally, like outside of like the GT attendees, I for everyone, it isn't a moment of, this is terrible and we hate it, we're mad. Everyone is just confused when we try to explain this to them. Why?
I will say, if it does change, I will miss getting to go, give me the token, whenever I get the token.
We have the big copper token that we thunk down between each other. It's the best part of that rule.
Yeah. Second thing is that FAQs are weird, and some rules changes are inconsistent. And this isn't necessarily a dig, right? Like we're not wanting to like take the rules team out and be like, how dare you make a mistake? It's more along the lines of just like there's many types of people who play this game, and there are some people who take the rules extremely literally, read them to the letter. And so sometimes when that wording doesn't match up, it lands with some really weird situations and wording of how some stuff's going to work. And I think sometimes people can take it a bit too far, and it's very clear that the rules writers for Conquest really want it to play a certain kind of way. And I think they're approaching that. It's just they're not quite there yet, and there's some inconsistencies. And there's also some inconsistencies in the things that they've said, right? Like they took away a lot of the third activations, free 3 activations or 3 activation stuff happening.
Triple activation as a whole, they wanted to get down.
And they've reduced it across the board, but the intention seemed to be we're removing it, right? The intention seemed to be we're going to get rid of like wild card 3 activations. But then like the new Sorcerer King stuff came out and they still absolutely have access to it, which is a little weird, especially when Wadroon lost a lot of it hand over fist. And so like that kind of inconsistency in design is very visible in certain aspects when comparing the two. And that's not necessarily always fair, but it does make sense for why some people would be confused about it. And this is something that might improve as they continue going, because they're going to write rules like more consistently as they keep doing it. And also, like the player base isn't used to this new FAQ system. Like they're not used to getting FAQ updates in the way that we're getting them now. They're kind of used to an old way of doing it that can't work like that anymore. So this might just start evening out. And honestly, I think what's going to help the most is more factions, right? Seeing more factions in the game increases diversity in what is playable. Mm-hmm. And that will help. You kind of care a little bit less if the SK is still having triple activation as opposed to I lost my free shooting attack on my Raptor Riders. Like,
yes. Very different levels of pain.
Yes. And the last one, and I think this is the one that I heard a lot about, and this is probably the one that I care about the most, if I'm being honest, and that is a twofer, and that is terrain mission. Terrain is sort of stale, right? Like, if it's hindering and obscuring, so basically forests, it's important. If it's water, it's important. If it's a hill, it's sometimes, depending on placement, important. And passable can make or break your entire game depending on where someone puts it on a table. And that's it, right? And that sounds like an okay amount, but when you're actually playing on the game, what it means is either you get extremely samey tables with like 3 to 4 forests centered around objectives, because almost all objectives are centrally located. Impassable terrain that makes one side much more appealing than the other, and sometimes will just kind of swing the whole game on occasion. Or water, which can just make some things really, really difficult. Like, there's impactful, and there's trolls with dread and water impactful.
Yes!
which are two very different things.
Get ruined! My boys, we're here. We're so back.
You never left. What are you talking
right.
about?
I didn't. The Discord was convinced they were terrible. Well, I had faith.
And sort of like it might be a nitpick, right? But like the broken, dangerous, perilous thing.
Don't get me started.
Like that for me is sort of very clunky, right? Combine them, make them all on a 5-up, like make them when you just go through them at all, right? Maybe introduce some new stuff, like something that might reduce your march distance as soon as you enter or leave it by a set amount, right? Because you have to like maneuver around it on like a minor level. Like maybe that can be ignored by brutes because they're big, or like monsters and brutes can ignore because they're big. Maybe it only affects infantry, right?
Maybe it's like
Stuff
entangling
like
vines or something.
And it's hard because like some of this is really sort of up to the TOs or whoever's making the mission, like making the table. Because like we've played games in which felt dramatically different because we positioned a hill built the way, like built a little bit larger than suggested, where you could fit regiments behind it and use it to hide behind. And also you can put something on top of it, so you can use it to like leapfrog things, right?
Yes. Yeah,
especially because you can't charge something across a hill if you can't see it, right? Like you can't declare a charge against something you can't see. But if you have fly, you absolutely can. So like Strix are really weird in that instance, and like there's just a lot of stuff that terrain can be affected by. But I don't know if the current terrain pack is necessarily enough. Like it needs to be a little bit more spicy.
Yeah, I feel like especially dangerous, where like, oh, when I go across it with a stand, I have to roll a dice, and on a 6-up, I take a damage. I might as well not exist.
It does
ignore it
like,
every time. Let me roll my dice. I will, across the course of a match, maybe take 1 damage, maybe 2.
At this event, every single table I'm on had 3 pieces of that. I would go through it most of the time, and I don't think it ever actually made my games impactful.
Yep.
Like I might have lost a wound or 2 over the course of the entire tournament. Like I
just
and
sure.
Like
third heist.
I'm sure there's games out there where I'm gonna run like 9 stands of like household guard through like broken terrain, and I'm gonna roll like 6 sixes, and I'm gonna lose a stand and a half.
That's amazing.
To walking through pits,
pudgy pits.
Like I just don't think that happens that often, and like it just feels like wasted rolling and wasted terrain space, like and wasted design space. It feels like there could be something way cooler, and to be honest, I trust Parabellum to come up with something cooler, and I want that to happen. And so if you're listening, Parabellum, make cooler terrain, and I'll play it. I trust you. Please.
Maybe some cool fog. Fog could be cool.
They've introduced some of that with like obscuring, obscuring water, right? Where it's got obscuring and it's water. Like that's interesting. They've got like swamps and stuff. I just don't think it's normalized to use that either. So that's just not kind of happening. It's like, oh, water is all just water, but like you can have multiple kinds of water.
Yeah. I think similar for missions, right? Like, I think the missions need a little spice. And this is something that people are feeling, not just at the GT, but just in our local consistent playgroup, is that the missions feel quite samey. Just, walking up and fighting over circles in the same way that everyone knows how to do. It kind of makes the games fairly predictable depending on your opponents and your matchups. We all know exactly how this is going to unfold when we roll up to these tables, because it is all circle-centric.
And like we've been playing these missions for a while.
A long while.
So we all sort of know how to deal with objectives, objective zones, how to sort of score out, like how to hinge the game on a turn or 2 and then score out the rest, right? Like that's pretty. I don't want to say easy because it's not always easy. Like you're always playing against an opponent who's challenging, but like the mission is not hard to grasp, and there's not a lot of variance, right? There just isn't, which is great for a competitive scene sometimes, but I prefer more. I think more secondaries, like an actual like secondary system, would be very useful, very interesting. Making submissions that are just very different, right? I think that would be cool, especially because deployment, for me, it just doesn't function the way I kind of envisioned it at first. Like I expected reinforcement line to matter more, and most of the time it just doesn't.
It's very rare I bring stuff in on the sides, because it's normally just more of a pain than it's worth. Yeah, that whole mechanic I just feel like could go, and I wouldn't be losing much out of my own armies and
Yeah.
lists.
And so, like, we've heard a lot of complaints, at least locally, about how, like, oh, well, the deployment's always sort of the same, right? Which isn't true, but it is a thing that we have heard. And I think that most of that isn't necessarily from the deployment, it's from the missions.
And I
Yeah,
don't
like
think
almost,
people have quite keyed in on it as directly.
yeah. And,
Yeah,
and
I
because
think
of the
for
way,
many of them, it's the missions.
and because many of the way the missions are designed, too, it's really hard to create interesting table terrain setups because they are so, the missions are very structured in a certain way. It's really hard to do anything with it.
That doesn't tip the scale one way or the other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think secondaries help a lot. Just we need them, like, and they need to like be kind of fun and engaging and interesting from game to game. I
think fluffy secondary objectives would help a lot. I think would help bring a great amount of flavor to the game.
And like clearly, like I went to a GT. I'm kind of talking about competitive, but also I think that having a mission pack for narrative play or more like pick up casual play, similar like the asymmetrical deck from 40K, would be pretty cool.
It would be pretty great.
Pretty dope. Might just make it ourselves in our local group. Just saying.
We could fix this problem with a weekend and a case of garage beers. Saying, we could have a defend the longboat mission, John, where the longboat moves across the table.
Yes. And I know I said a bunch of negative stuff, but I will say, overall, that event was phenomenal. If you haven't gone to a Conquest tournament, you should. If you haven't gone to a 2-day event before for a Wargame in general, you should. But I genuinely think the Conquest ones are some of the better ones I've been to. It's the first time I've been to a 2-day. I haven't been to a 2-day 40K tournament, but I will say, having played in many 40K 1-day tournaments, I could never do a 2-day. I would be exhausted. But I absolutely will go and do another Conquest 2-day. It was a great time. The community was wonderful. Everyone was great. We all tried to climb inside of an all-you-can-eat sushi restaurant, and that was a mistake.
That wasn't dangerous terrain. That was perilous.
There was too many people in that restaurant. But like, if you're looking for a nice place to play, Slice and Dice in Indiana, great. Just wonderful time. But beyond the event, which again, great. But what does everything that we said mean, right? For the general vibe for Conquest. I know a bunch of you are people who play from outside the US, or you don't necessarily have a large group, or you're just kind of checking on vibes by watching our video. Mm-hmm. And here to tell you, Conquest feeling pretty good.
Yeah, I think, because for me, like, I didn't go to the GT, right? So I didn't get to talk to all the competitive people. I don't know. I've been playing with the, like, dedicated casuals. And I will say, from the casual folks, I'm hearing the same stuff that John did from the competitive folks of game is much slower. And that's wonderful. Yeah. I don't know anyone in the casual scene who enjoyed games being done on like turn 3 or 4 on average. That was just like, one, you show up at a game store to hang out with someone, to like make a friend, shoot the shit, and play for a while. You don't want it to end turbo early. You don't really like feel like you get your full game in that way. Like, why did we drive out here for that? So having like more rounds to get into, just more time to hang out with cool people. And 2, I do think casually, a lot of us love big stompy critters, and big stompy critters don't work in a game that ends before my heavies touch the board. Like, you lose some of the I eat crowns and play green and magic stompiness in a game that ends way too early. So I do think things going longer not only is good from a broad lens to get more game like not game time, but game length, but also for casuals who want to bring more varied lists with some big stuff. I think the game has gotten much longer and has green lighted a lot of those lists that before I just don't know if could have functioned, which is a really good change.
Yeah, and I think for me also, I saw a lot of lists at that event, right? And I've seen a lot of lists locally. And I will say there's not a big difference between a lot of the casual lists and a lot of the like competitive lists, right? It's not like in some other games where there's a huge variance and gap between what is like a really competitive list and what is a fluffy list, right? In Conquest, it's much, much narrower. It's very minute choices, and it's much more skill based, which is really great. And the only way that can kind of exist in a harmonious state is if the game runs longer, and it is. So it feels way better, right? Like things just feel more viable. It feels like you're making decisions, and you can react to bad decisions you might have made to pull back a win. It doesn't quite feel like I messed up once, so it's all over for me.
GG.
Yeah, so that's overall just really good, and we're not the only ones who saw that. A lot of other people had that opinion. A lot of people had a great time. I'm gonna be honest. I'm not gonna call out the person's name, but there is one specific individual who told me, I have played a lot of tournaments over the last 6 months, and this is the most fun I've had in all of those 6 months. There was another person, different person, who said, this is the most fun I've had with this game. Flat. They lost almost every game over the course of the weekend. And they still had a blast because the game went longer and they felt like they were more engaged. That's pretty killer. Like, that's just pretty great.
Yeah, that's a great place to be. Because, I mean, I went to my first Conquest tournament a couple of months ago. It was in the turbo fast meta. It was not ideal. I could see why people who like did that regularly would be like, "Oh dear God, get me out of this! I want to see what the number 5 looks like.
I want to be out. Let me out. Let me out."
I hear there's a fabled 6th turn somewhere beyond the rainbow.
Yeah, and who knows? Like, this might become a problem again in the future, right? Like games ebb and flow, but like right now the balance is pretty good. It's pretty great. Highly suggest if you were a little turned off from the previous way of being, don't worry. They did nerf slingers. You can come play.
We gotta unfurl the banner on the ship.
But the biggest thing that I think almost everyone was jazzed about, and it was the thing that like every time I would like start talking to different groups of people, I would just like be picking up from people nonstop. They'd be like, "I can't wait for my lore book."
You're damn right, we can't wait.
They're like, my lore book, I want to know. And everyone was just so stoked. I've played a lot of war games. I've been playing war games for almost 20 years. Almost 20 years. And I can't tell you about another game in which people actively, almost universally, will tell you about the cool stuff their dudes can do. As opposed to, like, the amount of times I've been in a 40k tournament and dude's like, yeah, so I built my list to do this on turn 2 and this on turn 4. And, like, I can always make sure I'm going to get all, like this stratagem. It's my best stratagem. I'm going to use it every time. Meanwhile, at Conquest tournaments, I've had a dude sit there and look at me and go, these are hold thanes. They're sick as hell. I'm going to tell you why. Oh, buddy, I didn't ask. I didn't care. I'm a dragon player. You're finding out. Like... It's a great time. Like, I'm making a lot of jokes, I'm making a lot of hyperbole for this, but I'm just telling you, like, it was a good time. I really enjoy being able to talk about why you like a unit, why it's cool, and then why you painted it to be so cool while still being at a competitive event. It's really nice to have an event in which it doesn't feel like we're only here for one thing. We're just here to play the game. It just also happens to be that some people are trying to win.
Yeah, I do think for some people they engage with it in a way that almost reduces it to like click-clack math rocks, and like that's not a wrong way to enjoy a game as long as you do enjoy it that way. But at least for me, I find I have far less fun when I end up playing games that way. I much prefer the integration of story, 2 cool rules, and then we roll our math rocks on top of all that. And I just think it makes for like a more fulfilling, rich, I'm gonna go with wholesome. Yeah, wholesome experience. And I think the lore book is a great step to get there. And also, it takes what we have been saying for a long time, that the thing that got me into this game, into Conquest, I'm gonna be very honest, it wasn't the mechanics. I demoed the game, and the mechanics were fine. They were cool. I really liked the action deck. But mostly, the mechanics I went, they're okay. Other than the action deck, I'm gonna be very honest. I forgot most of the rules from the time I demoed them to when I actually started playing. That's not what hooked me. What hooked me was going and digging and finding all of the lore for the Dwegum and the Nords, and finding out that there were dragons, and like Horsemen of the Apocalypse, and a death god that was shattered, but not really, and some like experiments out in the jungles who psionically communicate with dinosaurs. The fluff hooked me so wholly that the mechanics were almost entirely secondary, right? Mm-hmm. And it was hard to find it at that time. Like, I had to really dig to get that lore. So I felt like I was almost trying to pitch people on a show that they couldn't quite watch yet because it's like region locked. Like, no, I swear it's really good. You just gotta you gotta go find the Crypt Keeper and he'll take you into the dark web to show you the lore. No one wanted to do that, so it was just me raving by myself that this lore is great, but they can't go read it because I lost it 14 tabs ago and I cannot help you go find them. Now, though, all of the lore is in one beautiful, convenient place. The lore book is incredibly well laid out. It's got great design. Someone really working that InDesign license over there. It's really well laid out. It makes a lot of sense. It's in the order I think I would chronologically put it in. If you want to read it from cover to cover, you're going to understand it all.
The art!
The Mastica art? Can we just... The Mastica art? John, the Mastica art?
Behold! I have a lot to say about this book, and I'm going to be honest with you, we're covering it. We're probably not going to talk about rules for a while, because this book bucks. That's the one time I'm allowed to say that in this episode.
You used your one. It's a good use. It's a good use.
And I'm going to be honest, like, the lore is great. I love it. Everything I've read so far, wonderful. But the art is so good. It is so weird for me to read a book and every page be hooked. Like, I was flipping through this with some people who don't even play Conquest, and they were looking at this and just going, that's impeccable. Like, some of this is show-stopping art, and it's blended perfectly into the book. The book itself is worth the price of admission just for the art. It is a very well-designed book. It is a very well-laid-out book. It's very good. Honestly, this brings me back to when I bought lore books for old Warhammer as a teenager to read, like, by myself when I was young and didn't have any money. Like, this is so good. It's hitting a nostalgia that does it for a different game. Like, it's so good. Like, truly wonderful. And what's even better is they didn't just make a product, they also updated a bunch of the way you can read the lore digitally.
Yes.
On their website.
So there is now a lore website also, which we'll link down below, actually. If y'all are interested in, like, where do I read this lore? That's so cool. I can show you. It's all in one place now.
Yeah. So you can just you can read this book and then you can read it digitally in this other form. And I'm gonna be honest, we haven't released a lot of lore stuff yet. We're planning on it. But if you're impatient and you listen to this, you're like, I want to dive in right now. 2+ Tough.
Doug.
2+ Tough.
Doug from 2+ Tough.
Doug does a great job talking about Conquest lore. It's truly wonderful. It's great. And I'm going to call it the Discord. Like, I'm just going to say the Discord for Conquest, there's an entire, like, dedicated channel for talking about the lore for your army, like, that you come up with, made by the creators of the game. And there's also a dedicated area where they just talk about lore. And a lot of them do. They know way more than me, and they're really cool. Shout out to Kang. 1,000 glorious years, Kang. What's up?
Our PhD researcher and brutal critique of our shenanigans. Live and die by Kang's knowledge.
So, like, truly, like, get in there. Now's a great time to be playing Conquest. If you want to go to an event, go to an event. If you want to play locally, play locally. If you want to start a group, become a Vanguard, do the whole thing. Like, there's a whole lot you can get into. It's all a great time. Now, if you want a specific thing, I am going to pitch, because I promised I would, an event in August. And it's at Golden Rhino Games, August 16th, 17th. It's another 2-day event, much like the one I went to. I will not be at this event, unfortunately. I have to run a narrative 40K event. So I will not be attending a Conquest tournament. But it is the biggest event they've ever ran at Golden Rhino Games for Conquest. It is going to be a CWE. It's going to count towards all that other stuff. There's some changes. They have removed their fully painted army requirement, so you do not have to be fully painted in order to go. Hop on in.
That's a huge win. That's a big barrier removed.
But to do a little bit of carrot, not so much stick, they have introduced a new Best Painted Army Award with an entirely separate prize pool than the normal raffling prize pool / winner prize pool.
Yeah.
Right? 2 of the people who fully paint and base all their models will have a chance to win very special prizes.
Ooh, spicy.
Specifically said it's not going to be more paint. There's also going to be a separate raffle for all the people who fully paint their army. So it sounds like they're just going to have 2 completely different prize pools, one for game play part, one for painting part, which is really cool. You don't see that very often. It's a really well thought out way of doing this. It's wonderful. So if you have any interest, Golden Rhino Games, August 16th through the 17th. They also have a restaurant inside of the game store, so they'll bring you food while you're playing. It's a huge help. I've played there before. It's pretty great. And I know a lot of people who go there to play. You'll probably have a good time if you go. So,
yeah. And anything we can do to kind of like shout out community events like this, especially with the people we play with, I think that's worth doing.
Yeah, I really want to see the Conquest community continuously expand, right? Like, we want to run more events in the future, both WCEs and non-WCEs, right? Like, we want to have a whole gambit of available options for people.
Mm-hmm.
Hint, hint, wink, wink.
There may or may not be something next January we're looking into right now. We went to Origins over the weekend. We made some connections. It's wonderful.
But, like, seriously, game's great. Get involved. It's a great time to do so. And if you're in the Cincinnati area, feel free to come to Tactical Retreat Gaming. Play with us. You can come meet us. Even if you just want to show up, you need a demo. We've got a wonderful Vanguard. Mark. He does a great job. And if he's unavailable, I'm sure one of us can make time to show you the game.
We're not a Vanguard. We're just really passionate.
We just like people.
Yeah, I think now it would be a great time to get into Conquest. Like, if you've been on the fence for a while, and you're kind of waiting for the seas to calm, I think now is a pretty good time. And if there's anything we can do to help y'all with investigating and maybe getting involved, just give us a shout out. And in the meantime, we're going to be over here behind the scenes trying to prep to do cool-ass lore videos, because this book is awesome, and I just kind of want to shout at a camera about it.
Yeah, I'm locked. I'm loaded. I'm in. I have 3 armies now. It's a problem. I picked up Uroni. It's a problem.
For me, mostly. And as we get ready for these new lore videos, if y'all will like, subscribe, share, do all of that stuff, we would greatly appreciate it. It helps the channel a whole ton to be able to find new people and make new connections and grow the community. We always appreciate it. For now, that's been all of our opinions, Bonafide and Kentucky Fried. We'll see y'all in the next one.